Welcome, welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. We got a good one today. We got something because this is this seems to get a lot of people activated, a lot of people interested in it, and hey, I get it. It's entertainment with in a way that actually has some kind of like impact on our lives. So yeah, I definitely get why this topic is so interesting to so many people. People like the properties, people like these movies, these comics, and then they're looking forward to seeing them come to the big screen. And now the crazy thing is, just yesterday, Marvel dropped a whole bunch of information, so it's like, okay, this could get interesting. In fact, if you saw any of what Marvel is promising or talking about, you'll see that the MCU is going in interesting places. Um, Let me know if you can hear me all right. I'm not even hearing this right. Yeah, so if you saw yesterday, they unveiled phase phase 4 ends in with Black Panther. So Black Panther is going to be the end of phase 4, and then phase 5, the first movie with phase 5 is Fantastic Four. They've unveiled the phase 5 slate, and then they also unveiled a couple of movies that are coming out in phase 6. Okay, wait. No, I think Fantastic Four is phase 6. Comes out is the first movie in phase 6. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm all off. Fantastic Four is the first movie in phase 6, and then the last movie in phase 6 is Secret Wars. Hey, Kenny, welcome to the stream. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Thanks for checking out the stream. Like I said, this is going to be a good one because we started talking about this on interrupts. So what is like someone you said mad interrupts in terms of like buffering, because it seems to be good right now on my end. That's one of the problems. I was doing a lot more live streaming, and then I upgraded my internet, and still I was having issues. Um, okay, you didn't like the trailer. So here's the thing about the trailer. It was very emotional because it's like it's not even about Black Panther being dead. This is literally about Chadwick. Um, yeah, I don't know if anyone else is. So yeah, someone is asking, is it just me? Yeah, anybody, let me know if there's any problems. Someone said he's getting interruptions. Well, they're getting interruptions. Yeah, phase 4 is it's phase 6 is Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. The trailer for Woman King was way better. Listen, that Woman King trailer, whoo, that looks like fire. Like that, I haven't even talked about that yet, but I saw that trailer. I was just like, yo, that looks so good. Okay, Jay, you good? All right. So yeah, someone, I think it might just be you. Maybe just um, like refresh your feed and see if maybe that fixes it. Um, but yeah, so the Woman King trailer looks good. But here's the thing about the Wakanda Forever trailer. I wasn't expecting like this. Basically, it's a tribute to Chadwick for the most part, and I get it because this dude like really he really died. And it was sudden. It wasn't something that happened that we were expecting. That not even Ryan Coogler expected it. Like they said, Coogler had actually written out Black Panther 2 with Black Panther Chadwick being the main focus of it, and then Chadwick passed, and he had to go and rewrite the whole thing. And they had to figure out one how are they going to rewrite this movie, and how do you honor him in real life in the movie, because so that's why I think It wasn't like action packed or anything, but it was a like an emotional trailer. Even with the no woman no cry, I was like, oh man, that was. um, and then the end with presumably Shuri becoming Black Panther. That was interesting. But like I'm looking, what I'm seeing about the Black Panther movie suggests to me that there's going to be a lot of a lot of Namor, a lot of like I'm curious how much is Wakanda, how much is Black Panther, how much is Shuri, how much is Ironheart, like not even Ironheart, how much is Shuri, gonna be the focus in the Dora Milaje. So that's gonna be interesting. But there's rumors that Doom is going to be not necessarily appearing in the movie, but he's going to be like his footprint is going to be throughout the movie, which is interesting in and of itself because what's that leading to? But if anybody didn't, if y'all saw, I was talking about this on Friday. I was talking about the MCU and the possibility of a new Professor X. Well, we know there's going to be a new Professor X because Charles, even though Jean-Luc Picard, well, I'm drawing, but even though he was the in Multiverse of Madness, we're not expecting him to reprise the role of Charles Xavier going forward. Like they're gonna rewrite, and reintroduce new characters, new mutants. It's good to see Daredevil and them coming back. And by the way, I think they're bringing back the whole Defender squad, which is why Daredevil is going to be 18 episodes long. But the talk is there's rumors. There are rumors right now, and by the way, this isn't new. There's been rumors that they were going to have a black Professor X or Magneto for years. Because I just like if you look on my channel, I actually talk about this back in 2019. I'm talking about this same thing in 2019 because the rumors were back then that they were considering doing this. And so now there's talks that, thank you, Kenny, Patrick Stewart. Yeah, my brain just, yeah, Patrick Stewart. There was talks that now it's going to be Giancarlo Esposito as Professor X. See, I was thinking that they were going to bring him in as Magneto. And just think about it. Gus Fring as Magneto, whew, that would have been serious. But to see him as Professor X, I think I know he would kill the role anyway. But there's some people that are upset about this. Predictably, every time there's, in fact, the last time I was talking about, I looked at the channel. I was talking about race swapping back in April. Why? Because of the Batman movie, and people were upset. Oh, there's too many black people in the movie. Like that's what this dude Ryan Kittle said. There was not enough good white people. But like it's amazing that there's a you got these fans that will claim that race doesn't matter in the comics, and then every time they're complaining about race, they'll say, "Oh, race doesn't matter. What the race of the character is," and then the race of a character gets changed. Correction: the race of a white character gets changed to a black character. Then all of a sudden, it's an issue. Now, mind you, when the reverse happens, it's not an issue. They will say question. They will hit you with questions like, "Well, what happened if?" In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, somebody had saw that video and said, "Oh, well, what happened if there was a white blade?" And I was like, I responded to him and said, "Hey, do you know what color? What describe what Blade's mentor looked like in the movie?" And well, in the comic book, yeah, describe what Blade's mentor looked like in the comic book. And I didn't get any response. Like I didn't get a response. I'll double check see if he responded by now. But last time I checked, he hadn't responded because in the Blade movie, you got Wesley Snipes as Blade, you've got Chris Christopherson as Whistler, white, like I think he's a country singer or an actor. He was playing Whistler, Blade's mentor. In the comics, Blade's mentor is a black man named Jamal Afari. Now, I didn't even need to tell you he was a black man when I said his name was Jamal Afari. Like it's given that a name Jamal Afari, clearly we're talking about a black man. But that's what his mentor's name was in the comic books. But no outrage from the same individuals that claim to be upset when race swapping happens. No outrage. They don't even acknowledge it. It only happens when there's only outrage when it happens in one direction. When it happens in the other direction, not a peep from these people. Um, yeah, I believe he was mentioned. Yeah, dude was mentioned in Endgame during the virtual meeting. Okay, okay. I hope they bring the defenders back. Yes, listen, because they're talking about in the Echo TV series, he's going to be Daredevil's going to be in there looking for Jessica Jones, and they're saying Kristen Ritters is reprising her role. So I'm like, okay, so Daredevil, uh, um, you've got Daredevil, you've got Kingpin, you've got Jessica Jones. Now you need Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Punisher, because John Bernthal did Punisher for real. He did a great job as Punisher. Like, so I'm expecting it 18 episodes long. I think they're bringing in the whole Defenders. So is these people? So they're like the Atlanteans. Yeah, they're like kind of like Aquaman. So it's yeah, it's so like the whole Aquaman tribes. That's what Namor's people are, and Namor's a mutant. So yeah, we're getting a lot closer to the actual X-Men coming into the comic book, coming into the MCU. So we've already had Kamala. Okay, by the way, I'm about to. Okay, so let me not. If you see Miss Marvel, you may know of certain things that they've talked about in there. But like even in the Marvels movie coming out, I'm expecting, and I've seen other people talk about it. People are saying Rogue better be in the movie. Rogue better be in the Marvels because that's how you have to introduce it. It only makes sense. Uh, yeah, he is now a villain forever type guy. Yeah. So Giancarlo Esposito, after seeing him as Gus Fring, it's like I just automatically assumed, oh, he's got to be playing Magneto. He's got to be just that bring. Imagine the menace of Gus Fring to as Magneto. Wow. Um, People forgot how creepy. Okay. Yeah, always in people's minds, reading people's thoughts. Good point. They better. Well, see, that's what I'm just looking at when I put up the thumbnail for Giancarlo Esposito and Patrick Stewart. I'm like, huh. I wonder if he's going to have to cut his hair if he plays Professor X. Because I've never. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen him bald. As Gus Fring, he had his hair, right? Was he was he bald as Gus Fring? No, no. Just yeah. But I mean, that's going to be interesting to see if it happens. Oh, you didn't like the Defenders or Jessica Jones? Damn. Okay. Okay. Blade has been technically race swapped. He's mixed race now. You mean in the comic books? So in the comic books is he, or because Mahasha Ali M Ali, yeah, he's like dark skinned like Wesley Snipes. So that's a. But here's a good point. It's funny that you mentioned mixed race because I was going to get to this point later, but we can hit this point right now because my whole point is this. Okay, if I say that if a character was white in the comic books and you make them black in the movie, that's okay. You've got the segment of the population that'll be upset, right? And so, like I was just watching Deadpool the other day, Deadpool 2, and people were upset that they made this woman Zo, wow, I'm bad with names today. Uh, from Zazie Beats, Zazie Beats, that they made her uh, Domino. And so people are like, oh, why is this black chick Domino? Domino's not black. But actually, in the comic book, Domino is black and white. Haha. But, which is funny because she's like literally black and white in the comic books. But if you take a look, Zazie Beats is in life, she's black and white. Like, not literally the color's black and white, but racially, she's black and white. Her mother's, I think her mother's white and her father was black. So, like, her or is it the other way? Because one of her parents is German and the other's like Nigerian or something like that. And she was raised in Germany. She grew up in Germany. She was born in Germany. So I'm like, it's if you're gonna say, I find it interesting that you could consider that race swapped when she has a white parentage. So one of her parents is white. So why isn't that, you're gonna say that's race swapped just because she has one black parent? I'll say okay, because if you're gonna say just because she has one black parent, now that means Domino's race was swapped for the from the comics to the movies. Then we say that about Storm both times because both Holly Berry and Alexandra Ship have a white parent. I think Halle Berry, her mother's white, and Alexandra Ship, I think also she has a white mother. But they both of them have white mothers, white parents. So if you're gonna say that Zazie Beach was race swapped, then can't we say that wait a minute, they race swapped Storm twice? So we haven't yet. In other words, we haven't yet seen a black Storm on on film. That because if we're going there, we haven't yet seen a black Storm, and so there's talk about um, this oh wow, dark skinned sister. She's married to Joshua Jackson, white dude from Fringe, and she is Jodie Turner Smith. They're saying she's going to. People are saying that she's being considered for Medusa. I'm like, let her play Storm, please, please let. She's a dark skinned black woman. Can we please have a dark skinned Storm for what? Please, please let her play Storm. I'm like Jodie Turner Smith. Like you don't need to make her Medusa. You could make her Storm. Please make her Storm. That I would like to see if you're gonna have Storm, like why not actually have? I just don't get it. Um, Iron who? We don't know her. The fact that Miles Morales had a movie. Well, you see, but because DC is just horrible. DC is just screwing everything up, and it's not just in front of the screen that they're screwing things up. Behind the scenes, like Ezra Miller just doing ridiculous nonsense, and like they can't get it. They can't seem to get it straight, and they still haven't locked down Henry Cavill to come back, which is at least not publicly. I think The Rock is working on it, and I hope he succeeds to get Henry Cavill back. But DC is it's almost as if they're trying to screw it up. So that's the reason why we haven't seen Static Shock on screen yet. So I mentioned don't being mentioned the virtual meeting because there was a bang in the middle of the ocean, and the girl from Wakanda said, "We're not dealing with it." Doom. Okay, so yeah. So um, and because I've actually been watching like certain leaks that are coming out, and they're saying that the according to the leaks, it's supposed to be Doom is actually orchestrating the drama between Atlantis and Wakanda. He's actually trying to get them to go to war, and my guess would be Latveria, his country. He's like, okay, he sees these two powerful nations as rivals, potential rivals, so he's trying to get them out the way so that he can bring Latveria on the map and just dominate. Um, I believe it turns out that Doom is the cause of the bang. Yes, yeah. So yeah, I know he's so we've actually had this disagreement on Twitter. This was a couple of maybe a year ago or even a couple of years ago, and he keeps saying, and we disagree not just on whether or not it's a good idea, but like everything I'm saying about why I see it being reasonable to make Professor X or Magneto black. He's like, oh no, that's not what it is. And he actually did a video on this, and he's wrong, but he did a video on this. So we will be getting to that. Cheering for Rogan. Listen, that's gonna be so, especially if the Marvels is them chasing down shapeshifters. If they're chasing down shapeshifters and they think Mystique is a scroll, and find out, oh well, she's not a scroll, and then Rogue comes to save her, and takes out Carol Danvers. Like, that's because we have never seen full powered Rogue. We've never seen Rogue, actual Rogue, in the on the big screen yet. Not yet. And we have the opportunity with the Marvels. They better do it right. Domino, yeah, yes, hey, Mr. Not Nickelback, yeah, definitely Domino. The best character in Deadpool, without question, was Colossus. That movie was listen. That movie was funny. Both of those movies were funny. Yeah, because they just came back on Disney Plus, so I watched them both again. I was like, yeah, those movies were pretty good. And Deadpool 3 is gonna be come. They're gonna tie it into the MCU, which is gonna be interesting. Professor X lusted after Jean. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Wow. Okay, yeah. So Professor X is not without his suspect side. Yeah, in the comics, Blade. Okay, so they did change it. Okay, I'm not mixed race. That's messing with my representation. They were mad. Gamora Green, played by, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, she's green. She's green. Like, what are you talking about? She's green. Like, that was crazy. Yeah, you're right. That makes no sense to get mad about Gamora. She's green. What are you? What are y'all talking about? That's a great point. Hey, Mr. Nickelback, great point. The woman plays Starfire on Titans. Okay, I got to check her out because I know that the show has been panned, but I want to see how good she is as an actress. A lot of MCU leaks. Yeah. So like, even with the whole reason why people are suggesting that they unveiled Phase 6 is because they patented the U.S. Trademark and Patent Office leaked that they that they had applied for these patents, and they're like, okay, catch out the bag. Let's just announce it. The Doom War saga where Shuri took the mantle of Black Panther. Okay, I can see Giancarlo's Mr. Sinister. See, listen, when Mr. Sinister comes, they better do him right, and I think they will. I think they're gonna do Mr. Sinister justice. But like, Mr. Sinister on screen is gonna be nothing nice, nothing nice. That's gonna be really interesting. But you're right. He could pull it off. He could pull it off, and they've already hinted at him, like even in Deadpool, because that school that the kid was from was the Essex House. It was run by Nathaniel Essex. In fact, they did it in Deadpool, and I forgot one of the other movies. I think it was Phoenix. At the end of Phoenix, Nathaniel Essex. Somebody is talking about Essex, Mister Sinister. You think they're shoving the so yeah, I saw that they would, when they doing that, like in the first one, because like they were suggesting that a couple of the Dora Milaje were, you know, really close with each other. So yeah, they will push that agenda till the wheels fall off, guaranteed. They will push that agenda till the wheels fall off. This is what I DM Cosmic Chaos. Welcome. This is what I say about race swapping in comics and movies. If the character's race isn't a big part of the character, I don't see it as a problem as long as you make the character interesting. And that's the thing. You got to make the character interesting because, and there's a lot of people that are blaming the Netflix series, the Netflix Resident Evil, on wokeness. No, that's not wokeness. That's garbage. Netflix Resident Evil is just garbage. It's badly written, badly acted. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. It has nothing to do with wokeness. But and sometimes I wonder if they're sabotaging stuff. But I'm like, people are gonna look at that and say, oh, you know, this is why it's bad, and this is why we should stop doing this because it makes it interferes with the quality. I'm like, no, that was just the trash. Like, so many bad decisions were made even writing that movie, that TV series, and that just needs to end. Lance Reddick is great in a lot of stuff. That was just I haven't even gotten past the first episode. I've tried. I've tried. Like, I saw Amazing Lucas was talking about it. In fact, he posted on Twitter. He watched the first two episodes and he's done. I said, listen, I couldn't even finish the first one. There's no doubt in my mind that T'Challa is going to have a son, and M'Baku is going to end up being the next Black Panther because the Queen is going to get killed off, and Shuri will take the crown. Okay, see, here's the thing: the way they're making it seem as if Shuri's going to become Black Panther and M'Baku's going to take the crown, but it would make sense the other way around. I see what you're saying. It would definitely make sense the other way around. I just think I think the problem we're facing with Black Panther is not Letitia Wright. She's not a problem, but she's not a problem in my mind. But in their mind, I think there's a bunch of people that want to get rid of her, and that's the problem. Because if you see, they for months, like, like all last year, like in fact the entire COVID, they were just going hard at her because she wasn't, going along with the orthodoxy, and so there was a literal campaign to try to get her fired. Fortunately, it didn't work, but I worry that it could affect her future in the MCU. And I'm like that has nothing to do. Like, people just need to mind their business, watch the movie. What she does with the jab is her own business. You know what I'm saying? Like, people really got to start minding their business. Black Panther 2 is going to be a mess. I really hope not. I really hope not. And I think that they've approached it, well enough in terms of had enough time to really consider it and put it together well. So I'm hopeful that it will be good. It's still sad that Chadwick is dead and won't be there, won't be in the movie, and that he's dead in real life, and that he won't be in the movie. That's sad. Why use a recycled actor for Mr. X? Tired of seeing this guy. So you don't want to see. Okay, so who would you rather? In fact, what I want to do before we end the stream, which is not like now, but later on in the stream, I actually want to do some dream casting for certain roles, and we could like do a fantasy cast on stream. But like, who would you like to see play Professor X? White or black? White, black, Asian, whatever. Who would you think, Jay? Would you prefer to see as playing Professor X? Because I was thinking, if you're gonna go like, for instance, the person I want to see play, there's a person that I think of as being able to follow in Patrick Stewart's footsteps, and even though I wasn't like dreamcast fantasy casting him in X-Men, I've actually said that he would make a good Jean-Luc Picard in the new Star Trek universe. And that guy is Mark Strong, English actor. He's done, like, what has he done? He was in Kingsman. He was in Kingsman, and he's very good actor, and he's bald already. So he would I think he wouldn't be a bad choice. Professor X being black would be interesting. Okay, well, yes, the high evolutionary is in Phase 5, and that's played by the dude. If y'all saw John Cena, the Peacemaker, the black dude from Peacemaker, the one that was the boss that turned out to be one of those things, he's actually going to be playing the high evolutionary in the Guardians of the Galaxy. And they got Will Poulter, who, if you don't know who Will Poulter is, like, blonde kid, that was in Meet the. It was a comedy with Jen Aniston and them, and We're the Millers. We're the Millers, and he was like a skinny kid in that. Dude beefed up, like dude, like you can see, dude was just been hitting the gym because dude is bulky. So he's going to be playing Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And yeah, because Adam Warlock is a beast. So he's going to have to um, play that. Just have a good story. Yeah, I want a good story. I want good performances as well. And like, because there's certain actors that can just handle a role, and there's certain actors that can elevate a role. And I remember Killmonger, and I got the wrong poster up. I was supposed to have a different poster up, but Killmonger, I wasn't convinced that Michael B. Jordan would do the role justice. In fact, not only was I not convinced that Michael B. Jordan would do the role justice, I didn't think they would write the role. I thought the role was going to be. I said this is going to be some garbage. I was listening. I saw people talking about it like in the mainstream, but like, oh man, Killmonger actually had a point. And I was like, oh my goodness. I didn't even know what it was going to be, but I thought it was going to be something stupid. And then when I watched the movie, I was like, okay, okay, you're right. Well, I stand correct. I thought I would disagree with everyone. No, you're right. Killmonger doesn't just have a point. Killmonger's right. Killmonger was right. Yes, loved it. Killmonger definitely. Like I was actually rooting for Killmonger in Black Panther. Seriously, I agree. Hat and clocks. They are messing with the formula. Get the men in with the action, and the women in with the sexy men. There are no men in. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Like you only see M'Baku for a little bit, but it's the Dora Milaje, it's Ironheart, and it's Letitia Wright, Shuri. Like that's like and Queen Angela Bassett. So it's like yeah, there's like almost no men. So it's yeah, you're right. It actually winds up looking similar to the Woman King, but that trailer is fire. Yeah, I don't know about Professor X. If he did that, that was some sick leftist red card. Well, you remember because they do change stuff. They'll redo the series, retcon the origins. They've done it several times, including with Professor X and Magneto. T'Challa peaked in Civil War. Listen, in Civil War, he was awesome. You're right, absolutely, he was great in Civil War, and I wasn't even expecting him to have as much as a role, as much meat in Civil War. Yeah, he peaked in Civil War. Killmonger, it was Killmonger's movie in terms of T'Challa, between T'Challa and him. Killmonger was shining, shone brightly in Black Panther. But yeah, Chadwick. Oh man, it would have been wow. That's really bad. Yeah, Resident Evil is bad, not woke, just horrible writing, bad character development. I watched the first season. It's bad. Yeah, yeah, it's so bad, so bad. And the funny thing about Resident Evil, you would think they screwed up. You think they did a horrible enough job with the movies. And now the movies were commercially successful, but they were trash, in my opinion. Except, listen, the last movie, Welcome to Raccoon City, actually looked like Resident Evil. And so I really think, even though it wasn't a great movie, it was light years better than all of the others. So, and Baku gonna be the next black. Well, okay, so yeah, he because no, I okay. So you're saying he won't even be the Shuri will if Shuri takes the crown, she's also going to wear the mantle. Okay, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. Like I really think they should have recast Black Panther, but they wanted to do. They really wanted to provide a tribute to to Chadwick, but I really think that character is very important to the MCU. Giving T'Challa intelligence to Shuri was a horrible idea as well. Okay, they wanted her fired because she's yeah, listen, she's not going along with the program, and so there was this campaign against her, and I hope it it doesn't, like come back again, and they don't start that nonsense again. Well, they gave Winston a huge. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. Firing Letitia be, yeah, it would be a horrible, yeah. And like I was watching when they're doing that on online, they're coming after her. I'm like, why leave this woman alone? What she want? Because the same people that keep talking about my body, my choice, were trying to persecute this woman and trying to have her fired because she's exercising control over her own body, and it's not bothering anybody else. Like they have testing, they have social distancing, they have masks, they have all kinds of other protocols that they could put in place, that her jabbed or not is her own choice and doesn't affect anybody else. Brian Cranston as Professor X could be interesting. Interesting. I'm trying to think as Professor X. Okay, I mean, because like at one time you saw him as like a lovable character, Malcolm in the Middle and everything. Then when you saw him as Heisenberg, it was kind of hard to think of him as a good guy again. But yeah, he can play a good guy. He can play a nice guy. Green Lantern, the guy that played Cyborg in Justice League, Pro X, same the guy from Kingsman. Okay, Green Lantern, the guy plays. Oh, Ray. And yeah, and they did Ray Fisher dirty. Damn, they did Ray Fisher dirty. Race swapping isn't half bad if done with finesse and panache, not forced to shoehorn. And so that's another thing. Like I don't like. So this times, okay. Funny thing is Jeff Charles. If you don't know him, he's a conservative writer. He's with Red State. He also has a YouTube channel. I've actually, shared some of his stuff on the channel. But like he was on Twitter and he was talking about how sometimes he doesn't like race swapping, but sometimes he does. And I get it because there's sometimes, and I'm going to describe how I see it. There's sometimes when it looks like, okay, you're obviously just trying to get black people to come watch the movie. Like it's like there's no, you're just trying to say, okay, this is to get money. If we don't, and Heimdall is a perfect example. Heimdall is a perfect example. The entire reason Idris Elba is a great actor, or like I see him in a bunch of stuff. Idris Elba is the reason why I went and saw that Fast and the Furious Hobbs and Shaw. I regret it, but I said, okay, Idris Elba's in this. I'm Block Superman. I had to see that. After I heard that line, I had to go see the movie. The movie was garbage, but okay. But Idris Elba as Heimdall was nothing more than a money grab. Clearly, it was because Asgard would have been blind-haired and blue-eyed across the board, which it's Norse mythology. I get it, but just to get black people to come watch it, you're like, you made Heimdall black. You made one of Thor's like friends Asian, like just to get. I'm like, listen, just it's Norse. It's based on Norse mythology. Like, give us a little bit of credit and just keep it like that, and we'll watch the movie. We can watch a movie if it's well done, and it's like if it's not disrespectful to black. If it just so happens that there's no major black actors in it, okay, it is what it is. But they did it. They made Heimdall black just to say, oh, Idris Elba. Now black people will come watch it, and I'm like, okay, come on, just come on. Like you don't have to do that. Just like you could. It makes sense. Asgard is based on Norse mythology. We get it. We can understand that. And so, like that time, I can clearly see that was just about money, not about cat. It was just about okay, we'll put a black face in there so black people will come watch it. And it's a very small role. It's a negligible role. You kind of give him a little shine because you're like okay, we have to give him some shine so that to keep the black audiences happy. And I'm like, just no, just make the movie, and like you don't need to do that every time. I hope they introduce the Starjammers in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. See, I don't even know who that is. I got to find out who that is. Killmonger was cool, but he wasn't intimidating by any means. Listen, I like the way I like his listen. Whew, that speech at the end. I saw it several times, and every time I saw it, that speech at the end. Oh, throw me in the wow! Like that speech had so much power, so much. Oh man, man. Peacemaker was the best series in a decade, better than the Boys and all the Marvel series. Okay, better than the Boys. Well, I didn't like the way the Boys this season ended. It didn't make any sense. But Peacemaker, yeah, I did like Peacemaker. I don't know why black people are for race swapping. They're not doing it for us. You do realize it, right? Like I just said, they're not doing like there's certain times when I think it makes sense. So let me tell you here's what I mean it makes sense. If we take a look at these comic books, a lot of these comic books are decades old, decades. So if you go back to DC and Marvel, like they started, like DC started in the what 30s, 20s, and so we're dealing with a time when literally they would try to like certain comic book authors would and writers would try to introduce a black character and they would be explicitly told no, we're not making a comic book about black characters, we're not doing it, it's not allowed, it's against the standards and um or whatever of the media at the time. And even there's a statement that was made about the X-Men, we'll get to that in a little bit, where it's like there's a reason why the comic book world is as white as it is, why the comic book characters are as white as they are, and it's not all by just happenstance. There was like intentional, no, you can't have a black character that's the main superhero. You can have a black character, like serving coffee or something. You can have a black janitor, and then eventually, okay, you can have a black sidekick. But then there were comic book writers who wanted to push for black characters, and finally they were allowed to do it. But for a long time, there was active and intentional, like just moratoriums on having black characters. So this didn't just exist out of nowhere. So if they were intentionally, if there were comic book writers that wanted to introduce black characters, and the media people, the people that were running these papers and these companies were saying no, you can't have black characters. What they're trying to do, that would make sense that they're trying to correct something that was interfered with by by racists. Yeah, after Black Panther, I was like, I don't like Killmonger's methods, but I understand his motives. And, um, yeah, I love Peacemaker as Gory Fetty. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, it was really good. But the boys' first season was super solid. Okay, so season one was good. I like season. Listen, here's what happened. Season one was good. When they announced Stormfront was coming to season two, I was like, I don't know if a lot of people, because I wasn't familiar with the source material. So I'm like, they have a character named Stormfront. I'm like, if they have a character named Stormfront, this is what the character better be. Because if the character isn't that, then somebody might need to enlighten them as to what Stormfront is. I'm pretty sure that's where they're going with it. But if they're not going with it, if they're not going there with it, then somebody might need to pull them up and let them know, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you know what Stormfront is? But it was that, and so which was it's, and I think that's a brilliant thing to do in the comic book universe. Yes, because it imagine like if that was real, you would have individuals like that. If they're the ones that actually happen to get the powers, hard body, you're gonna have them doing stuff like Stormfront. So once Stormfront came, and I was like, okay, and Stormfront was exactly who I expected Stormfront to be. So like season two was really good. Um, season three was good. I just don't like the ending. The last episode, the ending of the last episode didn't make any sense to me. We need Donald Glover as Miles Morales. I don't know. I think he's just a little bit old, but I'm pretty sure you could find some younger cats because in fact I think he's going to play the Prowler. There was in fact yeah I think that's what they set up for him to play the Prowler. Yeah, yeah. He is too old to play Miles. Yes. um, you're right. Nobody likes Amazing Spider. Okay, wait. Amazing Spider-Man. You talking if you're talking about the movie series for real? That's my favorite. That's my favorite of all three. And so I was so glad when they brought them all together in No Way Home. And what I really wanted to see was I wanted to see one other person show up, and I still want her to show up. I want Emma Stone to show up as Spider Gwen. That will kill it. Emma Stone as Spider Gwen. Spread the word. It has to happen. It has to happen. Emma Stone as a live action Spider Gwen. It has to happen. Um, yeah, Secret Wars. Emma Stone as Spider Gwen. It has to happen. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was Homecoming. As a woman, I very much watch movies to look at Idris Elba, Denzel his son, and a few others. Doesn't work with every. Yeah, I've heard that before. Andrew Garfield's a good actor. A lot of people just like listen. The chemistry between Andrew and Emma was amazing, and when that scene at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he throws the web down, and I was like, oh, come on. Because I thought she was going to be like, oh, I'm fine. And I was like, come on. I'm like, it looked like she just hit. I'm like, and she's going to be fine? And then I'm like, oh, wait, she's not going to be fine. Wow. They went, like, that was powerful. That was powerful. Let's talk about the boys because that is, oh, like seriously, because I looked at the actual comic books. I wasn't familiar with the source material. After the series came out, I started looking up at the source material, and I'm like, they changed. Like, I thought I didn't know how much race swapping they had done, but once again, like with the boys, for real, they did the race swapping for, oh, let's get black viewers to watch. That is a critique I have of the boys because I don't see any other reason for them doing all of the race swapping they did. Like um, uh, Fast Guy, like yeah, like you did that, and Black Noir. Because if I know who Black Noir is in the comic book, now I do, and I'm like, and you like that made no sense. Like because not only did you change that, which was something that actually affected the plot. That directly affected the plot. Race swapping Black Noir directly affected a major plot thread of the boys. I'm like, because I'm like, what were you doing? That made no sense. Any suggestions for Miles? I don't know. I haven't seen too many. I got to see who the younger actors are out there right now that could handle the role. I'm quite sure there's a bunch of them. I just haven't because they'll be like right now they'll be doing stuff um, maybe on CW or something like that, and that I haven't seen. So it's just a matter of me seeing any any shows that these younger actors would be in to be able to find that, and that's the reason why there's certain roles that I can't think of to cast, especially if you're going to cast with younger actors, because like I'm not watching some of the shows that these younger people are on. I even watched. Yeah, yeah, I get it. Listen, there's certain actors that are good. Well, yeah, but it's not just his acting ability. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Donald Glover was in Homecoming, not The Amazing. Yeah, it was because yeah, he was working with the Vulture. No, no, that was um don't tell me. I'll get this. I'm gonna get this one. Strapped. Bokeem Woodbine. DC started in 38. Okay, 38. But yeah, so but even then, like think about the time. At the time it started, because even the story I'm gonna tell you a little bit in a little bit is about what happened in the 60s, and they wanted to do certain things that was like, oh no, that wasn't gonna go over because of the climate. And quite frankly, if you take a look at the fact that the X-Men came out in the 60s, X-Men came out in the 60s and it flopped. Why did the X-Men flop in the 60s? Just think about that. Think about that. Why did the X-Men flop in the 60s? The comic book authority. Absolutely. Yep. I would love to see Denzel play the first chronological Black Panther in the movies. Okay. But now listen, remember, Blue Marvel still has to show up. And I'm gonna assume they're gonna get a black actor that's at least over 40, at least over 40 to play Blue Marvel. That's gonna be that's gonna be a pivotal role. Um, the Boys was is way better than Peacemaker. Peacemaker had that scene of comedy and it's corny. The story in Peacemaker was well done. Um, Hell, Stormfront is named most. Yes, and so as soon as I saw that name, I was like, this character. I don't know if they know it, but if this character is racist, that makes like a hardcore white supremacist. That makes sense. If this character is anything other than that, I think they, I think they may have some problems with the censors. Yeah, I read the source material for The Boys. It's entirely possible that there were a small number of black Vikings. There are black people in Norse sagas. They weren't Vikings though. The whole is based on Norse lore. It's a terrible argument. So listen, here's why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because of the Valhalla itself. Of these are supposed to be Norse gods, um, and so it's not the Vikings themselves I'm talking about, but the actual deities that they're worshiping. And I believe, to my knowledge, and there's a reason why I believe that, because there's religions that exist today. They had their own time in the prison. Yes, and like that's the reason why that's their religion, why they have chosen that religion, uh, because of who the gods are in that religion. Um, I'm surprised they changed Stormfront. Yeah, they did change Stormfront to a woman, but they kept Stormfront as a Nazi. Okay, so you want to get into briefly before we'll get back to the X-Men, but briefly, here's my problem with the Boys ending. My problem, and if you haven't seen the Boys ending, I'll just be 2 minutes to. Okay, they took out the wrong person. That's what I'm gonna say. Without in just in case anybody didn't see it, I'm gonna say in my opinion, they took out the wrong person because there was a major threat and there was a minor threat. They took out the minor threat. There's a much bigger threat that they said, "Hey, let's take out this guy." I'm like, "What? You've got a chance to take out the major threat, and you turn away from that to take out the minor threat." The minor threat, like it made no sense to me, because like there's a threat that's been right in your face for a very long time, and you suddenly decide, you know what? I know we have an opportunity to take that major threat out, but no, let's go over here. Let's like, oh yeah, there's a pit bull about to attack me. Oh, but there's a bee. Let me kill this bee. Like what? That's the part that didn't make any sense to me. Amazing Spidey was the worst. Okay. I can see I'm in the minority here. Not everybody agrees with me. Maybe nobody agrees with me. Hey, it happens. It does happen. Um, Spider Gwen would be cool. Okay, so you're not a fan. DM Cosmic Chaos would be. I just find it hypocritical that people hate whitewashing and don't mind blackwashing in the media. Okay, so here's the deal. I actually have, because here's the thing. Every time there's a blackwashing, as you call it, they say, "Oh, but what if we turn this person white?" And I'm like that's already happened a bunch of times. A bunch of times that's happened. That's happened in fiction movies. That's happened in real life events. They've taken real life characters, real life people, and turned them white in the movies. So like one of the stories I mentioned even on Friday, I mentioned it, a few months ago when I was talking about it, was 21. In 21, in that the kids that were counting cards at the casinos, they were Asian. Who were they in the movie? It was a bunch of white kids in the movie. Like, wow, really? One Asian dude, but the most of them was white kids. But in the real life, it was Asian kids. They they do this a lot. They've been doing this for decades. For decades, they've been whitewashing media. So the problem is, here's the thing. If they've been whitewashing media for years, for decades, and now they're bringing in black characters in. So race swapping some of the white. What they're doing is they're just pushing back on the whitewashing that's been happening all this time. That's the issue. The issue that there's a reason why you don't see so many black people, why there's like so little black people in media, and the reason is because they were intentionally not casting black people, not casting black actors, and intentionally not creating black characters. So if they created a black character, it would be the comic relief or the thug number two. Like this is so you would have these classically trained black actors who would be playing thug number two. And it was like, wait a minute, like, can't you give them a natural role? And the funny thing is, this is Hollywood. Hollywood that claims to be, so diverse and so left and everything. But Hollywood has such toxic race, like such embedded racism with it that they were actively for years. And it wasn't until just recently that the money got the better of them, because for years they were like, we don't even want, even if it's going to make us money, we still don't want to take care and start representing, put a large black representation into the movies. They were willing to ignore the money instead of actually putting a significant amount of black people in movies. They were literally willing to do this, and then finally somebody said, "No, let's get the money, let's get the money." And like Black Panther made a lot of money, but it wasn't just Black Panther. There's been a lot of these black movies that have greatly outperformed their budgets, and they're like, you know what? There's actually a market here. Like we can actually make movies about black people, and people will watch it. Garfield had the most comic accurate Spider-Man. I do. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think he played a good Peter Parker, a great Spider-Man. Silk would be cool too. Silk. There are so many black comic book characters that are overlooked that have potential to be iconic, which is why I'm against race swapping of white characters and characters like Miles Morales. Um, okay, for starters, Marvel Norse gods are not an accurate representation of Norse lore. Thor has red hair in the myths. Loki is not good. Odin doesn't tell people what to do. Okay. They had to do all the race swapping in the boys to keep the white folks complaining. Get Ryan Kendall needed some content, so he's like, come on. Like they got to throw him a bone, please. Absolutely. The boys isn't direct. Oh yeah, it's so much. It's there's so much changes in the boys. But like I said, there's that Black Noir situation is huge. Like you've changed the entire arc of the show with that change. So if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know that by changing Black Noir, they changed like that's a core element of the show, of the story. And so that one, I was just like, what are you doing? Like you, where you, like, how are you going to get to that particular story if you've already made that monumental change? Well, the Deep was black, A Train was white. Was the Deep black? I thought the Deep was white as well. Okay, I knew A Train was white, but when I looked up, but I thought the Deep was white too. I thought the only person that I thought may have been black was it Mother's Milk, because in some frames he looks white, and then in other frames he looks black. So I wasn't sure. Cyborg for Miles, Ray Fisher. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And DC did him dirty, so hey, he's available. I like the show for the boys, but I prefer the comics. And they already casted Miles. Oh wow, wow, that's interesting. To be honest, I don't really know any new young black actors, and that's the thing. So there's shows that they'll be in, but I don't watch those shows. Maybe on Freeform or something like that. Some of these, yeah. But so I know they're out there. I just don't. I'm just not that aware of them. Donald Glover is the Prowler. Yeah. Michael B. Jordan would have been perfect cyborg. Yeah, yeah. But they are saying he's playing Val Zod in a upcoming DC project. In the current MCU, yes, Donald Glover is the uncle to Miles Morales in the MCU. Period. Yeah. Um, Bro, now I think that DC will ruin the Static Shock. I grew up on but like Static Shock, yeah, that's gonna be if they ever, because DC has so much potential. And let me just tell you where I think DC needs to go with this, because people were complaining about the dark tone of the Man of Steel, and I'm like, listen, you don't realize that that's a gift. A dark Superman is the perfect is the perfect segue into the Injustice storyline. Imagine bringing Injustice to the big screen, a live action Injustice movie. That would be crazy. That would be insane. But they're trying to be too lighthearted right now, and so you would have to change because Superman is already there. If bring Henry Cavill back, Henry Cavill's already there. But now you have to adjust Wonder Woman to adjust her tone so that she can be on his wavelength, and then you can go ahead and do the Injustice storyline. The ending made sense, but it sucked. Like, but yeah, this is why I'm like her going one on one with him. I'm like, I thought she would have been like dead in like like really quickly, but I'm also was wondering like why didn't everybody say, hey, let's take care of him. Like this is our opportunity, and the other guy can wait. Sony needs to make Infamous movie with Infamous. Don't matter if it's Cole or Delson. Okay, I got to check that out. I'm not familiar with the source material. Infamous. I got to look that up. Oh yeah. So by the way, why we're talking about whitewashing and black. So and I didn't even know this, but Wanted in the comic book series Wanted. Did you know what Fox looked like? Okay, let's do multiple choice. In the comic book, did Fox, the character that was played like by Angelina Jolie, did she look like A, Angelina Jolie, B, um, Jennifer Aniston, C, Margot Robbie, or D, Holly Berry? What did Fox look like in the Wanted comic books? Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Aniston, Margot Robbie, or Halle Berry? Feel free to answer in the thing. Um, Knowing she cannot kill him. Yeah, like that was. I didn't even know how she hung with him for as long as she did. Maeve is close and pop. I know she's closest, but I think she would still need help. And that's what the fact that everybody just focused on, that was what was killing me, because season 4 and most likely 5 is about that, and Butcher was protecting. Soldier Boy became, but he didn't like. Soldier Boy was wanted to take. He's like, okay, we're gonna take out this dude. That's it. We're gonna take out this dude, and like, because Soldier Boy wasn't even intentionally, like, he would lose control of the power and explode. But he wasn't like, this dude literally said, I'm going to, I'm just going to start indiscriminately murdering people. He said that, like, intentionally, willfully, knowingly, I'm going to start indiscriminately murdering people if I don't get my way. Yeah, Ryan is gone. Ryan is gone. Like, yeah, Butcher should have chalked that up as an L. Toby's the GOAT. Amazing Spider-Man had good moments. I agree that in the comics, everyone dies. They could have let Soldier Boy explode, and everyone the supers would have kicked. Yeah. There was a Viking who was a Samoyed. Asians, some of them have dark skin. I won't go into too much detail, but I think the black elves who intermarried with the gods are mixed Asian descent. Okay, so yeah, I'm not that deep into Norse mythology. From what I know of it, that's why I was like, it seemed to me pandering, the casting Idris Elba as Heimdall. Anything to do with ancient Egypt? Yes, yes. Oh yeah, and the gods of Egypt. I haven't even seen the movie. Like, I refuse to watch that movie, but I've seen the previews and the trailers for it. I'm just like, I looked at that garbage. I was like, it was ridiculous. Mother's Milk is definitely black. Okay, so he is black in the comics. But the Deep wasn't a big as a douche in the comics either. Okay. They already have the ending. Injustice is brand new. They won't do that now. Like, listen, that would have been so good. Like, just think about it, because here's what happened. They saw. The funny thing is, they're saying that they wanted DC rushed things. They saw what Marvel had done, and they wanted to catch up in 2 movies. It's like Marvel spent 12 movies already building what up to what they what where they got to, and you're trying to catch up to them in 2 movies. That was a horrible decision, and it destroyed DC as a result. But they can salvage this with the multiverse, other universe, and then make it so that this DCEU that we've seen is actually the Injustice universe, where Superman is about to go down a very dark path, and then you can wrap this up, and then go back to another DC universe where now you can recast and have a new cast and other people. Hell of a God of War movie starring Kratos would have been the best superhero movie. I've never played the game. It looks like a good game. I just haven't played it yet. Dark Superman will be nice, and half the Justice League. Like, that would be so. Like, imagine. So in the comic, in the game, I know Superman, um, Superman and Black Adam are on the same team. So, because like right now they're teasing it out like it's gonna be Superman versus Black Adam, But imagine Superman and Black Adam on the same team. So you got Henry Cavill and The Rock just destroying stuff, just wreaking havoc. Like, wow. I'm like, and actually, I'm at that point. I'm like, they're gonna need to introduce some more DC heroes just to be able to handle the regime. People used to care one way or the other. Now it's nasty and hollow either way. So if it is done, and in this age of choosing, people will choose to avoid said product. Simple. So you're saying that people will choose to avoid stuff that's race swapped? I don't think that's accurate because they're still. Here's what I say: they're still doing it both ways. They're still, making black actors in having black actors play traditionally white characters, and they're whitewashing characters as well. They're still doing both things, and a lot of times, some people won't even be familiar with the source material to know that. But then, even when people are, you know, a lot of people just like whatever. If it's done, in some cases, if it's done well enough, or in some cases, if it's just promoted heavily enough, and that's what it comes down a lot of times. If they just push it hard enough, people go watch it. Like I didn't know all these years that the Resident Evil movies were making such that as much money as they were making, but somehow, for some reason, people kept watching those movies. For some reason, I love the part of the storyline when Superman arrested two of these superheroes that disagree with him, but he needed them for technology advancement and technology surveillance advancement. Well, Wanted movie was trash. You are correct. Holly Berry. That's what Fox looked like in the comic books. Like I said, I wasn't familiar with the source material when I first saw the movie. After I found out, I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I don't remember hearing any outrage about, huh, why did they why did they change, from the same people that are upset about that they'll claim they hate race swapping. Because listen, the people you've got the segment of population that says they hate race swapping. They're not saying they hate blackwashing. They say they hate race swapping, but they're silent when a black character is changed to white. When a non-white character is changed to white, they're absolutely silent. You don't hear a peep from them. So clearly, race swapping is not what they have a problem with. By the way, saw that interview with DJ and Candace Owens. Candace Owens needs to be writing for Marvel with the fantasy. Like, yeah, she just invented an origin story. Yeah, she's a very yeah, her whole backstory is fictional. Here's a list of racist characters: Black Adam, Ramatut, Moon Knight, Hawkman, Apocalypse. Now listen, Apocalypse. I know. I'm like, when are they gonna get? When are they gonna get a black actor to play Apocalypse? So I will give them this. See, I didn't know about. I get why, because they're saying, okay, he looks like he could be Arab, but that's not what Apocalypse was in ancient Egypt. Um, and even so, listen, they got Hawkman, because now Aldous Hodge is playing him, and Aldous Hodge is a hell of an actor. So I'm like, okay, yes, that makes sense. Now a lot of people may be upset, but I'm like, wait a minute, he's from ancient Egypt. He shouldn't have been. He should have been black in the first place, But you're right. Black Adam, Ramatut, Moon Knight, Hawkman, Apocalypse, and that's the funny thing. This guy played both Moon Knight and Apocalypse. Pick up any comic book with ancient Egyptians, and there'll be white people with tans. Exactly. Yeah. Escaping. You ever play Infamous, the video game? Okay, so nah. Is that what's that? Because so I'm stuck in the past. I still like when I came home, I bought the old systems, those classics. So I bought the Super NES Classic, the NES Classic, the Sega Genesis Classic, because I'm stuck in a time warp. Uh, I even bought the PlayStation One. I'm like, because I remember those games from before I left. But eventually, I'm gonna catch up with the times and go ahead and get me a PS5. Marv had been training so hard. I think that's why she wasn't stomped. Plus, they were that's right. Yes, so she was putting in a lot of work. Yeah, interest was pandering though. That's how I saw that one. DC movies are boring. Entirely too many storylines, no character. So the Suicide, I liked. The original Suicide Squad was a music video. It just was. So it kept it going like that. Um, the Suicide Squad was pretty good. The I liked um damn, it was just in my head. There was one thing about DC that the Snyderverse, the Snyder cut. The Snyder cut of Justice League was light years better than the original, than the other Justice League, than the Whedon verse. The Whedon verse was absolute garbage. Every other DC movies I had to watch 3 times to enjoy. Okay, Infamous is an old game. Yeah, I was away for a while, so I missed a lot. So like I remember when I went in, the PlayStation One was still a thing. When I came out, PlayStation 4 was out. Dude, I still have a PS2 and have no shame on that. I see race swapping as a cop out. They would rather race swap than get new writers that are black to come up with the new characters. So now here's what I say. The answer to it is like we need there's black writers, black comic book writers, black authors. Like that material needs to be brought to the big screen. But the problem is they 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 want to use material that they have the rights to. And so if these black and I wouldn't suggest when I went to prison. So I was in prison for 15 years from 2000 to 2015. So I missed a lot of stuff. I missed a lot um, in the boys' comic. But so like it's like when they go to when they when they're developing new characters that have just these backstories. Like they can have somebody that has a new character, has original characters, but they have the rights. They don't want to make a movie about somebody else's intellectual material unless they get control of all the rights. And I wouldn't recommend anybody giving these people complete control over your intellectual property. Give them the right to make the movie, but you maintain like a bunch of your other rights. Don't sell all your rights. But the issue is they control the rights to Marvel. They control the rights to DC. And so that's what they want to make the movies about because those are the rights they have. Um, in the boys comic, the only one that could pay the whole land besides Nora was Queen Maeve because she was the original seven that they pumped V into in vitro. Okay. I go to comic cons. There are a lot of black and brown indie comics, but they suffer because of the market. Yeah. But I do want to go into the specifics of the because here's the thing. People are talking about X-Men and that they don't think there should be a black Magneto or black Professor X. And my argument was, here's the problem. Here's the thing. What were the X-Men an allegory for? And so I talked about this on Friday. I talked about how the X-Men were an allegory for civil rights, black people, mutants were like black people being mistreated and being and then you have these two figures. You've got your Malcolm, you've got your Professor X, Martin Luther King, you've got your Magneto, Malcolm X, and these are the inspirations for the characters. And people will say, "Oh no, that's not true. That's not who they're inspired by." And I'm like, "Yeah, but let's take a look. Don't let Here's the thing. Comic books came out in 63, right? 63, what's happening? Now, a lot of people will talk about Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont was British, and he's from British white guy from Britain, And he said, "Yeah, I don't know about American racial politics." Good, I get that. Chris Claremont took over in '75. The comic X-Men were created in '63. So let's take a quick look at um, a couple of articles, a couple of clips from articles. So in this, okay, right. So this is from Screen Rant, right? And he's saying to claiming that Professor X and Magneto were inspired by Dr. King and Malcolm X, respectively, does a disservice to both men. Dr. King was not as passive as Xavier, nor was Malcolm X a violent mass murderer like Magneto. While Stanley never envisioned Magneto as a traditional villain, he also did not grant him a sympathetic backstory. Magneto's past during the Holocaust was written by Claremont. The X-Men are often inspired by real-world events and real people, but the true inspirations for Professor X and Magneto were not and never have been Dr. King and Malcolm X. So that's this person's claim, right? And this person, they say, but to say that both men are based on Dr. King and Malcolm X is false. Longtime X-Men writer Chris Claremont stated as much in a 2016 interview with Empire Online magazine. There's a lot of talk online now that Magneto stands in for Malcolm X and Xavier stands in for Martin Luther King. But for me, being an immigrant white, to make that analogy felt incredibly presumptuous, Claremont states. An equivalent analogy could be made to Menachem Begin as Magneto and evolving through his life from a terrorist in 1947 to a winner of Nobel Peace Prize 30 years later. Claremont went on to say that his goal for Magneto was to eventually become Xavier's successor as leader of the X-Men and headmaster of Xavier's School for the Gifted. So if you read this article, you say, "Hey, Aaron, you're wrong." Clearly, you read that article. It said it's not. That's not who Chris Claremont envisioned. And I'm like, okay, but Chris Claremont didn't create the X-Men. Remember, Chris Claremont came in 1975. The X-Men were created in '63. Stan Lee. Stan Lee was the creator of the X-Men. What was Stan Lee thinking of? Okay, so um, let's start here. We're going to look at it. So there are people, and Young Ripper, Eric July is one of the people. Like I said, he's actually did a video about it. And the funny thing is, he referenced the articles I'm about to talk about. He referenced the articles I'm about to talk about, and he still missed the point of the articles I'm going to talk about. So, um, like he's even on, like, we had the exchange on Twitter a year, maybe 2 years ago or so, and he's like, "Well, except you're wrong," and you know how he is. He swears he's right about everything, and so like I said, he's loud and wrong. And now that he came out with his comic book last week, 3 million in pre-orders, so now he's rich, loud and wrong. But he is rich, so he has that. He can be loud and wrong, but he is rich. So congratulations to him. But he's still wrong. Because here's what Stan Lee had to say. Were you aware that Professor X is more like MLK and Magneto is more like Malcolm X? Was that a conscious projection there? Stan Lee's answer. I think it certainly was an unconscious feeling, yeah. I've never felt that Magneto was 100% bad. I mean, there were reasons he felt that way, but it was just up to Professor X to find some way to make him understand that he was on the wrong track. Next, and the whole civil rights metaphor that ended up being the defining metaphor of the X-Men, did that come along in the first few issues? It came along the minute I thought of the X-Men and Professor X. Once again, we're going to read that again. It came along the minute I thought of the X-Men and Professor X. I realized that I had the metaphor, which is great. It was given to me as a gift because it made the stories more than just a good guy fighting a bad guy. The minute, the minute he came up with this, he saw the metaphor. Okay, but now, so you see, what I'm saying it's like it's right there from what Stan Lee said. Because yes, Chris Claremont, a British white guy from who doesn't really understand the racial politics of the U.S. Cool, I get that. Stan Lee isn't. Stan Lee's here in New York. Harlem is right over here where Malcolm X is speaking. He's right there. He sees all of this happening in real time. And then just stop and think, why wasn't X-Men successful at the beginning? Now you start to think about it because we're going to get to this point. Um, okay, so he's talking about when did he think of Magneto, right? He says so. Magneto is in the first issue. He says I was just gonna say, but my favorite villain was Magneto. This is Stan Lee. I love the idea of the X-Men being good mutants, and then we've got a bunch of bad mutants, and we'd make it seem as if the bad mutants had a point there. The human race hated them and feared them and shunned them and was trying to get rid of them, so why should they take it laying down? Why didn't they fight back? Whereas Professor Xavier said, we've all got to learn to live together no matter how different we are, and I felt that represented some schools of thought that exist among the human race now. And it was funny to toy with that concept. And basically, the main idea was to show that bigotry is really a terrible thing, and we should all get along with each other no matter how different we are. That was the main objective. If you needed an objective for a superhero story. So you see, this is from the very beginning. This is what's happening. It's happening in the 60s. He's creating this series, and this is his mentality. This is what's on his mind because it has to be on his mind. It's a powder keg going on in the 60s in the United States of America. Come on. And so like people would have retcon, like somebody was on my thread today in the comment section talking about, oh, this is some woke stuff. It was the 60s. Like and they get these buzzwords and they just run with them. Like they using these buzzwords allows them to suspend critical thought. It's the 60s. The civil rights movement is in full effect. Like if you think about where we were in 2020 in terms of the summer of Floyd, and imagine things being like 100 times more charged than that. Like that's what you're dealing with. Um, so were you aware that Professor X, and so this is when he says it was an unconscious feeling, came along the minute. But now here's the line that you have to watch that was so critical. He said, you probably didn't go into Martin Goodman, his boss, and say, hey, I've got a great metaphor for civil rights here. You said the kids are going to love this. And Stan Lee's response is what is so telling. It's so telling what Stan Lee's response was. He wouldn't have liked it, and he probably wouldn't have understood it. Say that again. He wouldn't have liked it, and he probably wouldn't have understood it. That's where they were at the time, where you literally could not go into there and say overtly, hey, this is what this is, and this is what this is. And he would have been like, what? No, you can't do that. So he had to do it and just hope that that he didn't notice. He had to just, okay, let me just make this. Okay, this looks good. So you had to do it coded so that you weren't stopped. So now, maybe he wanted to make any one of these characters black, but he couldn't have because at that point in time, it's taboo. It's a problem. Racial, like racial issues are so much in everybody's mind. So he's like, okay, but I can still tell the stories through this metaphor, through this analogy, through this allegory. I can still tell the story. I can still have this as the central theme, the central message with these characters. And so it's amazing that, and that's why I said, like Eric July quoted from some of those articles, and I think he even went back to there's a Daily Beast article. No, not a Daily Beast. I forget but it's from a 2000 article, 2000 interview with Stan Lee when he's talking about the upcoming X-Men movie, and he says it explicitly there. And so I'm like, it's right there. It's in black and white, and yet people are still trying to act like, no, that's not what it was. No, that's what it was, and we have it from Stan Lee's own mouth. Chris Claremont did something different. Cool, I get that. Chris Claremont clearly said he was inspired. He uses inspiration. These two Jewish leaders. Cool, I get that. That's not what Stan Lee did, and that's Stan Lee was here in the United States at a time when this was the powder keg that he was living in. Let me take some comments. Um, so where are we at? The boys comic sucks in my opinion. It's just edgy for no reason. Yeah, because I love Stan Lee, but he screwed a ton of creators. Yeah, there's a lot of creators that just never got their due. Um, when the boys comics, Russian Sausage was on the boys team. If you didn't know who Russian Sausage is, it's a guy. Yeah, because yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Was he okay? Because I know they talked about him in the in the like in the stuff you see on YouTube and stuff. I honestly think Patrick Stewart's ex is dated. Oh yeah, well listen, I don't think anybody is calling for Patrick Stewart to do it. It was great to see him in Multiverse of Madness. That was awesome, but that was just a nod to the an ode to him. Whereas going forward, we know a whole new we need a whole new X-Men. We need a whole new cast. I really want to see who they're going to get to play Rogue and I'm looking forward to seeing an actual Rogue with all of her Captain Marvel powers, with Captain Marvel's powers. um, yeah, we talked about that. Marvel's so boring. I haven't watched a new superhero movie in a minute. I'm burnt out. Um, like part of me is the fun of seeing. So I like some of the fan casting and like seeing of who gets to play certain roles and what they can bring to the character. That's one of the things I find interesting. Um, but also, I find myself watching um, a lot of things now to break down some of the elements of storytelling, of pacing, of character development. That's what I find myself doing a lot nowadays. Exactly. I knew there were black people. They were black people as a kid. Yes, exactly. Like it's obvious. It's very obvious. But there's some people who want to ignore the obvious for some reason. There's some people who want to ignore the obvious, and especially in the movies. Yeah, listen, like the movies remove any doubt. So like at the end of X-Men 1, Xavier comes to him when he's in the glass prison, and he says, I fear Eric, I fear a war is coming, and Magneto says, Charles, the war's already here, and I intend to win it by any means necessary. Like they just omitted, like there's no question. They just boom in your face. Like the only thing he could have done different, more overtly, is been wearing like an X cap. That's it. um, and that's key. How they made Magneto Malcolm's view as the evil one. Like that's the key because I talked about this on Friday. I talked about how when the mutants were an allegory for black people, that's when Magneto's a bad guy. When they make the mutants an allegory for other groups, then he's a good guy. He's a more sympathetic character because in the first movie and the third movies, Magneto is bad, and that's when the mutants are expressly and explicitly an allegory for black people. So, like I just said, that line at the end of X-Men 1 and X-Men 3, they're questioning Mystique, and they're like Raven, 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 and she's just sitting there. It's like they have her in custody, Raven, and then she looks up and says, "And by the way, this is Rebecca Romaine Stamos, playing Mystique, who looks up and goes, I don't answer to my slave name." There's no confusing it. There's no confusing it at that point. You know what I'm saying? But like 1 and 3, they were clearly an allegory for black people, and Magneto and the Brotherhood are bad. In 2, they're an allegory for LGBT community, and then you got stuff like them telling Iceman, well, can't you just stop being a mutant? He comes out to his parents. I just wanted to let you know, um, I'm a mutant, and they're like, well, can't you just stop being a mutant? But that was the one where Magneto and and X-Men United, X2, X-Men United. Magneto's a good guy. He's fighting with the Charles and him are fighting alongside each other. Like that's the thing to realize what their how they view, you know, how they view certain behavior when we're doing it. Anybody else does it, it's all good. When we're advocating for self-defense, we're monsters. Stanley openly talked about making it these two counterpoints, and after Chris came on, he changed everything. Thank you. It's right there. It's right there. And yet some people still try to deny what's right there. I don't agree with Black Magneto and Professor X, but just some guy and Young Ripper's reasons are straight trash. I listen. I haven't seen his latest stuff. If he's talked about it, I saw a video he did about it years ago, and he was loud and wrong then, and he's loud, and now he's rich, loud and wrong. But he's wrong. Like he's because he quoted the articles, I just read, and then like omitted, like just like glossed over certain points, and then oh look at this. I'm like, wait, you missed the part where Stan Lee explicitly says, yes, I got it right away. It doesn't have to be King and X. It could simply assimilate and comply versus stand up for yourself. I'm sure there are examples. That's a good point. So, like this, it could be like there's a part. It could be inspired by Elijah Muhammad. So, because remember Elijah Muhammad, and so one of the things they did was they called Magneto a mutant supremacist, and Malcolm, Elijah Muhammad, the NOI were called black supremacists. So at that moment, it's pretty clear, like the inspiration is from these figures. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it didn't have to be specifically those two. It's those schools of thought that are being demonstrated by these individuals. The comic book is still not out yet. I think he ships them out in September. Okay, yeah, because I saw him talking about the pre-orders. In fact, I think he went live earlier today talking about, he's having problems with PayPal. No, he went live the other day talking about he's having problems with PayPal, but he's going to be shipping out in well, I guess like you said in September. Stan Lee said he partially based Magneto on Professor X, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's right there in black and white what Stan Lee said, but people want to, for some reason, people just want to ignore that. He isn't bad at all. He isn't bad at all. Only liberals think something like Magneto. Oh yeah, absolutely. They don't think that when they exactly, exactly because and it's. I remember watching and I got to get a hold of his old speeches. Just what because watching his old speeches and see how brilliant Malcolm was. Malcolm was brilliant, and that reminds me of when he was the kid and he tells his teacher, oh, I want to be a lawyer, and it's like, oh, that's not a realistic goal for a Negro. And I think he used the other word, and so he's like, you should just work with your hands. And you see, even despite this system trying to crush his spirit, what this man was capable of, the intelligence, the intellect, like brilliant. Like he's going toe to toe with these college educated, Harvard educated. They consider themselves the best, the most elect, and he just dismantled them on a regular basis, just completely dismantled them. He would just bring logic and brilliant, absolute brilliance. Sorry, Stanley said he based him on Malcolm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Based equals partially inspired. Yeah. Magneto was evil. Purposeful genocide to prevent purposeful genocide because purposeful genocide had happened before it's evil. I'm not going to check it out because listen, So I saw him on with on Fox with I think it was with Kill Me, and it was him and his artist, and his artist, and he's like, yeah, we're out against this wokeness, and that's what Kill Me was talking about. Yeah, this we're fighting cancel culture, and his artist says, yeah, and my idea was when they stopped Superman being from Truth, Justice, and American Way, I knew I had to do something, and I'm like, what? Like, so you don't like political, but like you don't realize that Truth, Justice, and the American Way is political. It's bullshit and it's political. Since when has America been about truth and justice? What? But Truth, Justice, and the American Way isn't political, but you don't want comic books to be political. Like that's just some that's some status bootlicking garbage. The Truth, Justice, and the American Way, like even if the fact that you realize that Captain America is literally running around in a flag, and you're trying to say like that's not like that's statism, that's propaganda. And I like that Captain America in recent years actually turned out to be less of a status than somebody like an Iron Man. Because like you get to the Civil War in the comic books, and Captain America's like, nah, that's an invasion of privacy. Like, nah, like that's I'm not with that. And Iron Man is the bootlicking status that's like, no, if you don't have any, if you have nothing to hide, then then you should have no problem having the government have all your information. Um, but it was crazy. Yeah, I watched his artist, talking about Truth, Justice, and the American Way, and I'm like it's amazing that these dudes like and it goes just like that meme with the quartering, where it's like you have an allegory for imperial warfare, and then you add a black guy, now it's political. um, Anti woke movement rants, and woke was a term that was yeah, exactly. Um, the reason why Ripper is rich because he's listen. There is a huge market in telling white people what they want to hear. Huge market in it. There's a huge market in catering to the egos, to the egos of fragile white people. There's a huge market in it, and he is all in on that market. Huge market. His name is Lud Sausage in the comics as well. Yeah, that Russian dude. Well, I want to see Sassy Rogue and not what we see. Yo, yeah, yeah, because she was she was sassy, like in the comics, like she was just mousy. Like that's like you put like the two strongest female characters, Rogue and Storm. You had them being played by mousy actresses as mousy characters, and I'm like, both of these women are just too powerful to like. You're not doing them justice. Remember, Fox Marvel was just bad in general. In his day, King was 100. Oh yeah, absolutely, he was. Um, and yeah, and they considered King a trouble. But it's amazing that a lot of times people will look at it through today's lens. That now they don't mind him so much, but then they absolutely hated him. Absolutely. But the anti-white woke crowd does that. Even check some of the comic gate stuff, and a lot of the stories do not make sense. And about tits and ass on women and violence without a plot. Yeah, yeah. They had Captain America punch Nazis. Like, yeah, that was clearly war. That was pro-war propaganda. Like Nazis were horrible, but let's keep it real. That was political pro-war propaganda. That's exactly what that was, and he was pushed to that. X2, they created a cure. Stop it. Preventing your annihilation is your God-given right, and anyone who disagrees is a bootlick and part of any offending party. Period. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna check it out because he's a libertarian. X3 had the cure. Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, because that's when Juggernaut. Yeah, they have the dude in the yeah, Last Stand. Yeah. Fox Marvel wasn't entirely bad. The Gifted was the best. Oh yeah. By the way, while we're talking about Marvel and Fox Marvel, I hope there's one person that I hope they bring from Fox Marvel, at least one person, into the MCU. Anya Taylor Joy as Magic. The New Mutants was not a good movie, but she was amazing in that. Like every scene she's in that movie is great. She has to be like at this point you can't, if you want to see magic on screen, like I automatically think of Anya Taylor Joy. Like she's phenomenal, and so like they have to bring her in as magic. They absolutely have to. Yeah, Cap represents what the American way should be. Right. The Gifted was good, but had too many faults. The Juggernaut bitch. She was good. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's like so there's I'm gonna say like I have something I want to do. I'm not gonna do it now because um I've got, you know, so I've got something I want to do with this topic, and so I'm going to do a little bit more prepping with it. I have it somewhat ready, but I want to. It's going to be an exercise for us in terms of this whole race swapping thing because a lot of people, a lot of people either don't see the bigger picture or try not to see the bigger picture. No best comic TV show, hands down, The Watchmen. Even though it wasn't based on the actual comics, one of the best shows. Yeah, that was so good. The New Mutants. When people ask me about it, I tell them it was some. Yeah, that was a thing. It was there. I always liked Malcolm more than Martin. I'm hearing bad stuff about Martin. Well, I didn't agree with the, and I think here's the thing. I think Martin even realized the flaws in his logic. He didn't understand who he was dealing with. Right before he died, he started to understand it. And so, like, you even have that line, I fear I'm integrating my people into a burning building. He realized, wait a minute, I completely mischaracterized, I misunderstood these individuals that I'm dealing with. Like, this is, none of this is accidental. None of this is accidental. Like, we're dealing with a pathology here. And he realized that at the end of his life, well, before he was murdered, he's like, I may have miscalculated. Like, yeah, like I really didn't understand how deep the pathology was with these individuals. Could only imagine how upset people were when Hal Jordan was one up by John Stewart, and then he made Celia the bad guy for some reason. That confused me. Right, right. uh, could only imagine how upset people were when. Okay, okay. But yeah, so like I wanted to get those story like those clips out, those from the Rolling Stone, from Stanley's own mouth. I wanted to get that material out there because a lot, like I said, people will continue to try to pretend that it's something that it wasn't. But like there we have it in black and white. That's what it was. It was Stanley's, what he patterned it was for, what he was inspired by, what the mutants and the X-Men was an allegory for. Clearly in black and white. Chris Claremont shifted it to a slightly different allegory, and then X-Men 2000 forward, they brought it right back to that thing. So people acting surprised and, oh, this is an outrage. They just want to complain. They just want something to be upset about. They want something to just to distract them from the I don't know what they're doing. They really have issues, and it's a pathology. Um, as I just said, it's a pathology. Off topic, but can we talk about Soldier Boy telling Homelander he was just like him? A big listen. Okay, I want to, yeah, because listen, I I saw it in his eyes. I said, yeah, he's gonna tell him like you're just a you're a wuss. Like you're whining. Like you're just like you disgust me. Like yeah, he came full circle. He not full circle. Well, he came 180 degrees. So now he's the father instead of the son. Where he's like, okay, yeah, I don't even respect. Like he no longer respected himself when he was that sniveling, he's like, be a man, stand up, like you're like you have all this power and you're here sniveling and groveling, like trying to get my approval. Like that was really funny. But I really think that, like, based on just mindsets, because Soldier Boy wasn't saying, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and just murder people." It just so happened that a couple of times, and like he was triggered by the by certain music, the music that would go on would trigger him. But he wasn't actively just going out there just blowing stuff up. It was just his power would get out of control. So they could have just said, okay, let's get rid of the overt threat, the threat that is intentional, that is saying, I'm actually going to hurt people and murder people if I don't get my way, and then we can turn our attention. Like they could have done it that way. They said like we could take out Homelander and then take out Soldier Boy. So I really don't like that. I was like, what? I wasn't ready. Oh yeah, Soldier Boy was racist. Um, yeah, was Soldier Boy racist? And Mother Milk said that, but I never really got that vibe from him. Did he say that? Okay, I don't remember that part. At least he didn't say that. Yeah, because that scene from the comic books, I didn't take him as racist so much as one of those I hate everyone types. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I gotta check it out. I don't remember Mother Milk saying that line, but yeah, it was a great season. Like Jensen Ackles did a great job as Soldier Boy, and I like the way they portrayed the character. They made the character a lot more interesting than I thought they were. I thought they were going to make him the little bumbling idiot that he was in the comics, but they made him into a much stronger character, and and he went to war against Homelander. That was interesting. See, because like I thought Butcher was still going to want to fight Homelander, and Soldier Boy was going to team up with Homelander because he was his son, but instead it went a completely different direction. Yeah, MM called him racist. Okay, he said it when they gassed him out. Okay, okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming to the stream, checking out the stream. It was a great stream. Glad everyone got to join me, and I might be I've definitely got more material coming out today and tomorrow and stuff. I'm working on getting out a video, some other videos today, not necessarily on these topics, but I might live stream tomorrow. I might, because I got a bunch of things I got to take care of. So if I finish them in time, I'll stream tomorrow, probably evening. But if not, I'll probably try to get some streaming in done on Tuesday. And because this is exercise I want to do, this thing, like basically I want us to do some fantasy casting for some of the roles that we're potentially who could play some of these roles, as well as a twist on that. But I'll fill you all in more on that when we go live next. So let me just read these last comments. Yes, thank you. Hit the like button too. The writers of that part had to be some snowflakes who think we take everything as racist. uh, thank you, Jay. Yes, hit the like button, please. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Well, Soldier Boy had said some questionable stuff and was messing with Liberty, but that was funny. He didn't even know about. He said, "Yeah, Liberty, this really cool chick." Like, okay, if you only knew. Uh, you heard the CBC wants to meet with Sesame Street. Yeah, like what are y'all gonna do? What is Sesame Street gonna do? Not sure. Soldier Boy is racist. He just seemed like a jerk. Soldier Boy, all his behavior is questionable. What's your opinion about Andrew Tate? Absolute clown. 1,000% a clown. So like I intend to do a video about that. Like I watched him and Hassan's debate, and he's not. Listen. He is everything he describes woman of being. That's him. When he's describing women, he's describing himself. Because he talks about emotion, prone to emotion, that refuse to listen to reason. He even used the words "my truth." Like, listen, Andrew Tate literally said on that debate, that live stream, "Well, this is my truth." He literally said, "This is my truth. You cannot convince me these culture warriors, these like a bunch of these red pillars, are the exact same thing as the people they claim to hate. They are exact. They are carbon copies. Like it's crazy. It's crazy." Boycott Sesame, close Sesame, you have zero. Yeah, like that's it. Just once they do that, it's a matter of okay, we have no reason to give you any of our money. Yeah, he absolutely, yeah, and he was classy about it. He was laughing about it. He was very calm. Yeah, just completely out. But clearly, Andrew Tate is like a caveman. So he thinks everything in 2022 is beating his chest. Like that's not how things work now. Like even in caveman days, the bigger brain would win, but he still thinks it's just whoever can beat his chest the hardest. Yeah, not a smart individual at all. Okay, good job. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evenings. If you're, yeah, there's still some sunlight. I'm here in New York, but if you're not on the East Coast, then you still got some sunlight left. Enjoy this weather because it's beautiful out there. Have a good one, everyone. And this is really why I had to kill the stream because these people are singing karaoke. Like, are y'all for real? They're singing. I'm trying to go live, and y'all are singing karaoke. This is, oh my god, like this is crazy. This is why I can't with it. Like